Thank you, Ryan. Tom, it's a pleasure to be here, and an even pleasure to be here in this environment. An opportunity to share a little bit of my story, some other stories, and in the end, I know that there's some other Jim Nills out here, and hopefully this opens up the door for somebody else to listen to where I've been, where I'm hoping to get to, and hopefully impact your life. So thank you very much.
Well, 10 years seems like pretty lightning fast, and I read off some stats, but there's no doubt the Stars are having a tremendous amount of success right now. And your recent award as the General Manager of the Year, an incredible, exciting playoff run, and a great start to the season. What does all this success mean for you and the organization?
Well, first of all, humility is the number one thing. I know it's not about me. I know that this is God-based. I know He's done it. And the other thing I know God's done, He's put great people in my environment. I am surrounded by so many good people in our organization, in my family, in my walk of life, and it's not about me. I won this award, and when I was presented to it at the NHL draft, it's the first thing I acknowledged was I was smart enough to know to surround myself with great people. There's some of them here tonight even, or today, and it's about the people you're surrounded yourself with, and so like I said, great honor to win it, but it's about organization, and so I'm very honored and happy for them.
So 9 years as a player, 10 years actually, and decades of front office management experience. You have a ton of hockey memories. What are some of the hockey memories that stand out to you the most during that time?
Well, you know, I grew up in a small town, skating on the ponds up in Canada type of thing, so I just loved hockey, just loved it, but never dreamed that I'd get a chance to play in the NHL. And two things. First thing was to be able to play for my country, 1980 Olympics. Unfortunately, played for Team Canada. Some of you people weren't born in 1980 yet, maybe. That's the year that the U.S. won the Olympics. And that was the Miracle on Ice. And it's an amazing story. It was in Lake Placid, New York, small town New York. It's one of probably the last small Olympics when you think about it. Lake Placid is a city of a town of about 3,500 people. And here all these people come in. We stayed in a penitentiary. That was our housing, so nothing real fancy. But that's the year Team USA won the Olympics, and it's an amazing story and what it did. So that's number one. And then the next thing was playing in the NHL. I never dreamed I'd play in the NHL. I grew up in a small town of 2,000 people. I was a good little player in this small town. You know, I started bang-banging around and going to different levels and stuff. And before you know it, here I got a chance to play in the NHL, and I played there for 10 years. And it's meant so much to me. The game has been so good to me, so I've been very blessed.
How scary were the Russians in 1980 in terms of the players? You described the difference between them and the U.S. team and everyone else, but it seemed pretty serious.
They were the big bear, and to back 1980 for some of the people to know, that was the Cold War time. That was U.S. against Russia. That's in the politics in the real world. It was atomic bombs, everything else, and this Russian team, it was a machine. The Olympics back then were amateur players. That's why I was in college. We were college kids. And we were playing against these Russians. Well, they're professionals. These guys they're machines. They were good. They played the U.S. team in an exhibition game in Madison Square Gardens 2 weeks before the Olympics. And I think they beat them 13-1. It was embarrassing. And we're going in here saying, oh my gosh, we got to play these guys. And we actually played the Russians just before Team USA did. We lost them 4-3. It was a great game. And I think that gave the U.S. team a little bit of hope. But they were good. They were an NHL team, and they were very good. And it is a miracle what happened and what the impact that had on hockey in North America is amazing what it did.
So you're saying you softened up the Russian team before the U.S. team got to them?
Yes, I got that maple leaf on my chest still, so I got to soften it up a little bit. Thanks.
Well, and you could spend days on the Iron Curtain back then too, but how, it was impossible to, get players from Russia to even go play anywhere else. But very fascinating, very fascinating. So you spent all this time as a player and then in the front office. But like we talked about, you had a major defining moment in your life at age 46, particularly on your spiritual journey. But it started a lot earlier than that. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, and this is a story about patience and perseverance, not by me, but by the Mighty One. He had so much patience, and he never gave up. I grew up, as I mentioned, in a small town, went to church. I wanted to be outside playing hockey. I wanted to go snowmobiling. I wanted to go hunting. My mom and dad would make me go. My mom, strong faith, but not over the top. My dad would go, he was a good man, but didn't understand. He came from Germany, didn't understand things, wasn't part of his life either. But great life, great parents and stuff. Fast forward, I was like my dad. I thought I was a good man. Treated people right, did the right things, but had no feeling about God. Knew nothing about the Bible. Nothing. That was a foreign book to me, as foreign as could be. Fast forward, I'll try to shorten this up. I get going here, I can tell some pretty good stories, so I'll kind of give you the short version of everything here. We don't have all day here, but I met my beautiful wife in St. Louis. I played in St. Louis, got married, great lady of faith, and playing in Winnipeg, Manitoba. And I had two great teammates, Laurie Boschman and Doug Smill. They worked with HMI, which is Hockey Ministries International. It's a global hockey ministries foundation. Don Lesmer runs it, and they use the platform of hockey to spread the word to young kids. They have hockey schools all over the world, and have instructors come in, play different levels of hockey, and they do their hockey gig, and then they have their chapel sessions after. So Laurie and Dougie asked me to go to Caronport, Saskatchewan. There's a Bible college in Caronport, Saskatchewan. It's in the middle of nowhere in Saskatchewan. You guys ever heard of Moose Jaw? It's close to Moose Jaw. So it's about a half-hour drive from Moose Jaw to Caronport, middle of nowhere, this Bible college. They asked me to come there, so I'm like, yeah, I love playing hockey. I'm going to play hockey. I'm going to go help teach some young kids how to play hockey. This is going to be fun. So go to this hockey ministries camp, and great camp. You're enjoying it and stuff. We go on the ice all day, do our gig, and at night, as a staff, after we do chapel session with the kids, the staff has a chapel session. Well, I'm not a Christian. And we have this chapel session, and we go to that, and I remember sitting at a table like this, and all these men are there and ladies are there, and they throw the Bibles down, and they say, let's go to Psalm 23, and I'm sitting there saying, oh, boy. I'm trying to find Psalm in this book. I don't know the chronicle order. I don't know how this works. I'm trying to find that. I do my best. By the time I get to Psalm 23, now they're on to Hebrews 2. I'm flipping again. They're saying stuff. I'm so uncomfortable, so out of my element. I'm a big, tough hockey player, and when I'm in my comfort zone, boy, am I confident. I was humbled. Problem is, I got to do this for 7 days. So we're doing this hockey school. As we're doing this, we're having the chapels with the kids, and I'm watching these kids change, and I'm like, wow, this is something. I keep going to these Bible studies after we're done with the kids, and I'm just, this is tough. But I'm watching these kids. Something's tugging at me. Well, every night we also had to drive back to Moose Jaw. That's where we're staying, is Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. And Donnie Lesmer, who runs HMI, happens to get in my car. Wouldn't you know it? It's just me and him. Well, we're driving back and forth every day for 7 days. And about by the fourth day, Donnie's, Jim, what do you think? Is it time? I said, what do you mean, is it time? He said, to accept Christ as your Savior. Oh, I'm driving the car. I'm grabbing that steering wheel so tight. I am so uncomfortable. I'm just grabbing it. And then Donnie's a good man. I'm on his board now. I'm on the board HMI. Here I've gone from there to that. I'm on this board. But he's good. He's saying, Jim, there'll be the right time. But just remember this. Well, we're doing this for 4 more days. is it time? I'm grabbing the steering wheel. Donnie, lay off me. Leave me alone. Fast forward. We head back home. We're going back to Winnipeg. Walk in the door. My wife's there. We just had a little, our daughter, oldest daughter, just as a baby. I meet them, and she says, how was it? She said, I don't know, Becky. There's something tugging at me. I don't know what it is. It was great to see these kids accept Christ. I told her about my experience, how uncomfortable I was with the Bible and all this stuff. But I said, boy, there's something there. Great. Move on. Now we go on here about another 5-7 years. And now I'm retired. Still haven't accepted Christ. And I'm in Detroit, and I got some great friends. I got some great people back there I'm surrounded by. And one of the gentlemen asked me to come to, we're going to have a small group. We want to arrange a small group. And we'd like you to come to the meeting for it. We're going to meet at Big Boy Restaurant. We're going to get together, a bunch of men, and get together. So I go to this meeting and meet a bunch of people, and they want to start this small group. But I'm just like, oh boy, it's not me. It's just not me. And go through that, and when are we going to start the small group? We're going to start on September 15th. Oh, I'm just like, hallelujah. I got training camp starting on September 10th. I can't do this. I'm in Detroit, and we're having training camp in Traverse City, Michigan, which is a 3-hour drive. So I said, I got an out. This is perfect. I got an out. So I loosen up a little bit, go back home. I open up the door, and by this time we had 2 more children. There's my wife standing there and my 3 kids. They're going to a Christian school, and I've been watching them as their life's growing up, and boy, they've got it. They got something that I don't have. I walk in that door, and they're smiling. How was it, Dad? Are you going to the small group? Oh, and I sit there and said, oh my gosh, how can I let them down? I said, yes, I am. How am I going to go there? I said, I got a note. I told the guys I can't do it. I got a note. So I told them I'm going to go, not knowing that I didn't tell them I'm going to camp, so I'm not going. Head up to training camp, and I'm up in Traverse City, Michigan. Get the email. This first small group session is tomorrow at 6 in the morning. I said, I can't go. I'd have to leave at 2:30 in the morning to get there, and I got to drive back to be back in time for camp. I'm not going. I laid in bed, tossed and turned, didn't sleep all that night, and I said, I got to go. And I got up at 2 in the morning, got in the car, drove from Traverse City down to Michigan to the guy's basement where we had the small group, and my life changed forever. It was amazing. I got in with a group of men that all different walks of life. I was a former athlete. There's a guy that was a senator. Another guy's a financial planner. Another guy worked for McDonald's. Another guy just got out of jail. They're all different walks of life. We got in this small group. We peeled back our lives like I've never seen before. It was unbelievable. And we're going downtown Detroit. We're doing school sessions. We're doing reading sessions in downtown Detroit in the tough areas. We're getting connected to schools down there. It was a most amazing experience. Get to know God, expanding on it, and we finally got to the point after 3 years. We're like the disciples. We said, we can't stick together. It is now time to separate. And that was tough because we're in our comfort zone now. It's great. We're in our comfort zone. Life's good. We're into each other's lives. Our wives are part of it. They're getting their own small group going. We're impacting the world. And we sat back and said, no, we have to separate. So we separated. We went into, everybody grabbed another small group, and our life just kept taking off. And that's when I accepted Christ, and here we are today. And it's been an amazing journey. And we'll expand on some more things, but I kind of got long-winded there. But that's a short version of my journey.
My favorite part about when you described that was walking through the door and seeing your wife and your kids there who were like anticipating and waiting to see if it had an impact on you. And I mean, I couldn't think of a more powerful scene, especially with how you've talked about the impact that Becky's had on your life, your wife, and how she's been coming after you a long time. And I know that plays into your story about how you came to Dallas. So I'd love for you to talk about that.
Yeah, so my wife, amazing lady. When she was 36, she came down with cancer, and it's been a battle ever since. But amazing journey she's been on. The people she touches. She probably shouldn't be here. I'll tell a couple stories about that. But when I accepted Christ, the first thing she said to me was, "I've been praying for you for 20 years." She said, "Every day for 20 years." And I was like, wow. Talk about patience and perseverance. But for 20 years, she prayed for me to accept Christ. And so the impact that she's had in my life, my kids, they were all living it before I was. Like, here I am. I'm this big hockey player. I'm this big executive. I didn't get it. And what it's done to my life now to deal with things and stuff is just life-changing. So she's a big part of it. We talk about how I end up here down in Dallas, to expand on that. So my wife's going through her cancer treatments. She's in a bad spot, a real bad spot. Not doing well. Her days are probably numbered. No, as I told, I kind of ramble here, so hang on. I'll go to a side story here and go back to this. One day I come home, and things aren't good. The doctors have told me, this isn't going well. So I come home one day. Becky's out on our deck. She's got all these books lined up, about 10 books. And they're the books that you read a story with your voice on it. And I said, "What are you doing?" "These are for my grandkids." I'm like, whoa. That was like big, but she was frustrated. I said, "What are you frustrated about?" It won't read." I said, "What do you mean it won't read?" They wouldn't read. They wouldn't record her voice. She packs up the books, goes back to the bookstore or the store, takes them back, gets another batch, starts to read. They wouldn't record. We looked at each other and said, "You know what? This is God. Your time's not done. He doesn't. You're still going to be here. These books you're going to have the chance. We now get 5 grandkids. You're going to have your chance to read to them," and she has. So just an amazing story, like just the things like that she's gone through, and like I say, she's just walking with the Lord. Getting back, how do we end up down here in Dallas now? So my wife's bad spot. She's going to a church. Lisa Illich, who's the Illich family, is a pastor, and she's anointing her every day with oil, bringing in. And she's got the church praying over and stuff. Well, they had prayer baskets, and Becky's my wife. She's a busy little beaver. She's putting my name in a prayer basket. I don't know what for, but she's putting different people's names in the prayer basket. I come home one day, and I got a call from Dallas Stars. They want to interview me to be the general manager of the Dallas Stars. And so we talk about it, and she said, "We're going." And I said, "Beck, slow down, slow down, slow down." I said, your health is number one issue. We can't be bouncing around, moving and doing all this. You're priority one. I've sacrificed enough with my career. We got to look after you. Good doctors. The Illich family were like family to us, looked after us well. We had a good team in Detroit. Didn't have to leave. She said, "We're going." I said, "What do you mean we're going?" "I've been putting your name in the prayer basket for 2 years to get another job." I'm like, whoa, guess what? We're going. Boom, we ended up down here. We talked about it. We said, you know what? It's really not about the job. It's about God has asked us to go down here. How can we affect other people's lives? This is God calling. And that's the attitude we've come down here ever since we've been here was, yes, it's about the Dallas Stars. I have a job to do. I know that. But how could we impact different lives along the way to do it? That's how we got here, because of my wife and her prayer basket. God bless her.
So we have her to thank for you being in Dallas and the winning hockey ways here, at least one of the many people to thank. But when you get to Dallas and you inherit an organization that's been through some tough times, and I remember I was there at the same time you were, and talk about, what was your secret sauce that you brought? What is it that makes your approach and what you've done different and special, bringing all this background with you?
I don't know if there's a secret sauce. I think it's that book that I didn't understand. It's amazing what that's done for me for dealing with situations. You know, every morning I get up and I read it, and amazing how many times I read that thing in the morning. I go to work, and for you gentlemen out there that have businesses and people working for you and stuff, there's always something going on. It's about people, and it's about respecting people, a safe environment for people, and hiring the right people to do the right job. And I've been very blessed. When I came to Detroit, I came down with the attitude, something's wrong here, I'm getting a job, so something's bad. That's usually how you get new jobs. So I came in thinking, I'm gonna have to clean house here. I was fortunate through the people that I've witnessed run corporations and done good things with organizations. See what you got here first. And I was very fortunate. I was very patient, and I found out I got a lot of good people that were working here. We made some changes, but not a lot. And we really just worked on the environment. Safe place to work, respecting people, accountability. You know, I still have to make tough choices. You know, I call a player in, I've got a cutter, I got a trade. It's not easy. They got families. You're affecting their lives. But if you're honest, you're upfront, you're forthright, they accept that, and they know it. And that goes with part of the leadership. You got to make tough choices. And I know that, but I think people respect it just because we're honest with them. We're upfront, and that's probably one of the keys.
So the people in your organization, well, actually, I'll go back to something you said from the small group. You know, it was almost like a calling, how you had to separate and go out and take your faith and start taking it to other people. You've mentioned how you look at other people in your life, whether it's personally or professionally, kind of have a lens for what's going on in their journey. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's something that I really, being with these men in a small group and that, and getting humbled and realizing this, you got to take yourself out of it. It's not about you. And, you know, I use a great example. I don't know anybody drive down the North Tollway here at 120 miles an hour and the car's zigzagging in and out and getting in behind your blinking lights and everything else. I'm a pretty competitive, tough guy. I don't like that. But supposed to love your enemies, right? But I've learned, you know what? You don't know anybody else's story. That person behind you that maybe is trying to get by you might be running to the hospital. His wife might be having a baby. You might have a mother that's passing away. You don't know other people's stories. Everybody in here has got a story. And you're either in a great spot in your life, bad news is eventually you're going to be in the valley, or you're coming out of the valley and heading to a good spot again. That's our lives. That's the way it's going to be. And it's so important to understand that. And that's where, that's probably where I'm most at peace is something bad will happen and everybody wants a quick response. You know, they want to make a change here, do something here. Let's sit back, let's see the story, let's get the temperature of everything, and then let's make a decision and go from there. But it's like I said, everybody's got a story, and we don't know the stories. And some of us out here, we need to let other people know about our stories. You might be Jim Nill. I wasn't letting anybody know my story. I'd had a lot of demons and a lot of highs and lows, and I wasn't willing to open up. My wife, for 20 years, was trying to get me to open up my story. And there's people out here, men, women, we all got different stories, and you don't know where you're at. And but when you get to know the Lord, He's there for you, and what a difference it makes. What a difference.
So you experienced this major change in your life at 46, and it's obviously a very central part, an active part of your life, your faith in Christ. What do you do daily to feed that? What are you focused on keeping to feed that part of your life and growing in that faith?
Well, first of all, make sure you're around the right people, have the right support, the right people. But I wake up in the morning. I'm an early riser. I'm up 5 in the morning, and I go right to my Bible. And I can't tell you how many times, I mentioned it earlier, how many times I read the Bible, and I go to work, or I run into somebody, and that verse. I knew nothing about the Bible. Guys, ladies, I knew nothing. When I opened that book, I knew nothing. I cannot get enough of it now. I cannot get enough of it. I just love to read that Bible. I get into that, read these stories. And my wife and I were talking the other day. Just think about the disciples. The disciples weren't the leaders of the country. They were fishermen. They were taxmen. Like, it's amazing where they came from. Well, that's all of us. That's all of us. And that's what God wants. He wants, we're one of the disciples. We get a chance to be them. And so I need Scripture. And like I said, I talked about the patience and perseverance. I hope by me speaking today that there's somebody out there that's not 46 or 66 like I am now and is waiting to make that decision. I hope I can affect it enough to say that, you know what, you might be 22, 23, get into it now. I hope that that God is going to tweak somebody's heart. And I'm just a messenger. I was telling these guys the other day, they called me back in, October, November, to come do this. That weekend, I was at one of my church services, and the pastor talked about being bold. I enjoy doing this once I get up here, but I don't enjoy getting ready for it, put it that way. When the pastor said you got to be bold, 2 days later I get an email and a call from these guys. I'm like, oh my gosh, God. Again? Like this, I got to talk in front of 100 to 200 men and women, and my knowledge of this is finite. But he said, be bold. Here we are.
Well, I kind of used a couple people in your organization to get to you as well. Well, not to get to you, but there are some really strong, faithful Christians in your organization that I sent this message to, and you just responded, I'm in. And I was like, well, that was easy, but it was clear why it was easy now. So, talk about the relationships that you have within the organization. How are you looking to build a better culture of people? You've talked about the people, but something you said that resonated with me. You you're not the person that can fly out and look at a player right now. You have to trust those people and develop them. Can you talk about that just a little bit?
Yeah, that's something. I remember when I interviewed for a couple jobs before I got Dallas, and I remember going to those interviews. And this is the humility part. I was pretty confident. I'd won 4 Stanley Cups. I found all these great players, Pavel Datsyuk, Zetterberg. I'm puffing my chest out pretty good. I went to these interviews, and they always asked me, how are you going to operate your organization? And I really didn't think about it. And the first couple of times I said, well, I'll go out and we'll find these players and stuff. I did this a couple of times, and I finally sat back and said, I'm missing the boat here. It's not about me. I have to hire good people. I got to nurture those people. I got to support those people. They're the ones that are going to go make me look good. We talked about the GM of the year. I've got a bunch of people that have made me look good. And until I understood that, I wasn't going to get it. I was, like I said, humility is probably, like I said, the biggest weapon there is. We need to be humbled, and we will get humbled. Don't worry. We get humbled all the time. And once I learned that it's not about me, and it's about having good people, nurturing them, and it's much like God did with his disciples. He wants us to go out there and plant seeds. He can't do it all. He can't go everywhere. He is everywhere, but he can't do it all. He's counting on all us. And once I realized that, hire the good people, nurture them, support them. That's how we started to move forward here with the organization.
So you mentioned Hockey Ministries International, and you're on the board for that. It seems like a fantastic organization. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, they are all across the world. They use the hockey as the base, and they have camps. They have a camp here in Dallas. They go over to Europe and do these camps. They They have NHL players, former players come in and instruct the kids. But the biggest part is the chapel sessions we have. And there's some amazing stories. As I said, they run for a week, and some of the stories you see with these young kids and that impact your life. I'm going to share a story. And this one's a little bit hard. This is a hard one, but I'm going to share a story. This one really impacted me and impacted our whole staff. So we're having a camp up in Adrian, Michigan, Adrian College. And having a camp, it's a great setup there. It's a Bible college, great, nice rink. Everything's perfect. Great kids, great counselors, great people running it. And we're having a tough time with one young man. He's really having a tough time. And he's in a bad place. So myself and a couple counselors grabbed him, and we said, what's going on? And he says, I'm having a tough time. He said, I just found out 3 days ago my story. And we said, well, what's your story? Well, his mom and dad were from Russia. They're part of Latvia, from Russia and stuff. And back years ago, you were allowed one family member, and then after that, the mother was given a pill, so she wouldn't have any more kids. Well, he found out that his mother took the pill, it didn't work, and he was that child. And he was having a tough time saying, you know what, I might not be here. He might not be there. And it was affecting him hard. And we had to walk him through it, but we said, look at you, you're a gift from God. Look what you are. But just imagine, he was that one child. He said that if the pill worked, I'm not here today. And he was 9 years old, trying to understand all that. And it's a little bit hard, but it just shows you that God had an act in this, and the young man's got through it. And that was just a way we were able to help a young man get through some tough times, through the hockey and then the chapels and everything else. So,
You're talking about something that I think happens, well, I know happens with many people who are believers, but you can look back through your life and see the thread of how God put those divine appointments and those things in your life. You talked about a couple. Are there any others that you look back and you say, wow, he was really at work in that moment?
Oh, yes, so many things. Really with my wife, it's been amazing to watch her journey. She is, unfortunately, she couldn't be here. She would love to be here. She's my journey. What she's gone through without complaining about anything, impacting other lives. She's one of those ones, she goes to the cancer center, sits in the chair, and she's working with the whole group. She's, she comes home and she'll say, how can I feel sorry for myself when there's a young mother that's 21 years old that's got breast cancer with 3 young kids? Why am I, how can they have a pity party for me? But the people that she affected, she started small groups with the Dallas Stars, with the women there and stuff. They call her the Muffin Lady. Everywhere we go, she bakes muffins. We go down to the American Airlines Center. We go into the parking, go into the parking. Parking attendants are there. They're getting their bag of muffins. She loves people, and she spreads the word of God. She's outstanding.
Well, and I remember back in that time we had heard about the women's group and in the Bible City group, and your reputation had preceded you in terms of how successful you were professionally, but that you were a man of faith. And, it's been obvious that the Lord's been with you and working in so many incredible ways. We like to ask this advice for everyone who speaks. You were talking about the young hockey player who's going through a tough time. There's always someone in this crowd who's going through a really challenging, difficult time right now. What would your advice be to that person?
That's why we're here. God brought you here for a reason. It might be a friend invited you here. You might have read something online and you got tugged, much like I got tugged. Went to a hockey camp, went to a small group thing. Wasn't going to have anything to do with it, but you're here for a reason. And there's a lot of great people around here that can help you. There's a lot of good people outside of here that can help you. And my biggest message is, use me as an example that get it easier than I got it. Don't be so stubborn. Don't be, we're not all tough, hard rock guys or young, tough ladies. We've all got things going on in our life. Open your heart. God is there for you. He'll touch you. He's never going to leave you. That's the best part. He's never leaving you. And like I said, as I said, there's another Jim Nill I hope there's 100 Jim Nills out here. And you leave here saying, you know what? God spoke to me today, and search it out.
On the other side of that equation, Toolbox's mission is to help men move from success to significance. And you talked about a part of your life where you were having a lot of success, but then now really after saving faith, there's significance. Can you talk about what that means for you, moving from success to real significance?
Oh boy, that's my struggle now. I've been very fortunate. I've been blessed. I've won Stanley Cups. I've won World Championships. I've played in the Olympics. And my biggest struggle right now is there something more I should be doing? I got to be general manager of an NHL team. I never dreamed I'd do that. But I'm here now. But I'm still getting tugged saying, you know what? How many more years am I going to do this? Is there something more out there? I could take the easy way out, do this for another 5 years and say, hey, this is great. I got a daily struggle. You guys can pray for me. Is this where I should be, or is there something else out there? And like I said, I love people. I love impacting lives. And is there another direction I got to go? God sent my wife and I down here with a direction. And what's my next direction? Maybe it's to stick with the Stars. Maybe I got to do something else. That's my struggle.
Well, it sounds like you're bringing your own ministry wherever you go now, and that's been impactful on a lot of people and impactful on people here today. I did want to open it up to any questions here, kind of for the last few minutes, and it can be faith-based or it can be hockey-based. I have a hockey question for him as well, if I want to start there. Yes, sir.
Yeah, thanks. No, I know, and that's, like I said, that's my struggle. I appreciate that. No, and like I said, my minister told me, get out there and be bold. Here we are. Yes.
Go ahead.
No pressure. Great question. I'm trying to decide I should be bold and stick with the God questions or get into the hockey questions here. So here we go. But yes, you know what? We've got a good team here. I'll talk about the team a little bit here. We got a little bit of time here. Our organization is in a great place. We've got a group of veteran individuals that are star players. It's the Jamie Benns, the Joe Pavelskis, these type of guys, Tyler Sagan. We've got a core group of guys that are in their prime. It's the Rupi Hintzes, the Ottingers, Heiskanen, Robertson, these guys. And then we've got another group of young kids coming in. That's Wyatt Johnson's, Thomas Harley, Nils Lundqvist. And then on top of that, got a great group of young kids our farm team's down in Austin, Texas. And that's where our farm team is. We've got the two leading scorers in the American Hockey League down there, Stan Coven and Bork. They're 1 and 2 in the league in scoring. They're 21, 22 years old. We got a young defenseman, Liam Bischel, who was down there for a while, went back to Sweden. He's from Switzerland. He's 6'7", 240, and he's a monster. He's only 19 years old, so we sent him back. Had to remember he's 19 years old. He's got to let him be comfortable. He's coming back in March. So our organization is in a good spot. Adding a defenseman is something we're looking at. If you're going to go a long ways in the playoffs, you have to have lots of depth. And we're a little bit thin back there. Thomas Harley has really come in and really solidified that, added another layer to us. Nils Lundqvist is starting to pick it up. But because of injuries and the grind, winning the Stanley Cup, it might be one of the hardest. I know there's a lot of football people here and all this stuff. Baseball, Texas Rangers, one I'm good friends with, Chris Young. Winning the Stanley Cup, it is you got to win 16 games over 2 months, and it's a grind. And so you've got to You got to have enough bodies. You got to have a good enough team to make the playoffs, and you got to be a good enough team to survive. And that's the fine line. You got to have the right mixture of skill and the right mixture of grit and strength and size and stuff. And that's the bottom line. So great question. Yes, we're looking at it in defensemen, and go from there.
Surviving is a great way to put it. If you've ever been to a playoff hockey game, they really are out there to kill each other sometimes.
Yeah. It's a battle of season. It's a battle of nutrition, is what it is. By the time you're done, I remember the first time we went in Detroit, Steve Eisenman came to congratulate him and stuff, and he said, "Jim, I just want to get this stuff off." He said, "I'm so tired of my equipment. I just want to get it off. I never want to see it again." You're whacked out. You're just whacked out. It is a battle, but that's why it's one of the best things to win. Yes?
Thank you so much for being here. Congratulations on the great success. Do you have any influence on the other professional teams, and how do you endow them?
We actually did a great question. We do interact. We all got together as managers 2 years ago, and it was great. We got and shared stories. We've all got the same struggles. It's player development, trying to get a young kid in the lineup, and you're trying to win at the same time. Managing salary caps. So it was great. It was FC Dallas was there. It was great to hear the soccer platform, how they start bringing kids in at 5-6 years of age, developing them. Like, it's amazing to hear their different stories. So we do get together and share stories, share experiences, and pump each other up a little bit because we get a little down at times. And so it's good.
I think he's asking if you can personally pray for some of the other teams that we have here in this town.
I'm a good fisherman. The hook wouldn't stick in me. It wouldn't stick. There was somebody else like that too. Yeah.
How does culture affect the way that you look at players when making decisions? Like when you brought Tyler Seguin in, there was a lot of question around his character and whether he was a detriment to the team. What's your perspective on that, and how do you use your faith to speak into the culture? Because clearly the culture has evolved, and you've developed an organization that I think amplifies a lot of the things that you talked about, the accountability, the humility. There's a lot of pieces there that I think you can see from outside the organization that have been created, and I think there's got to be some management of that culture. And how do you look at that when bringing in players like Corey Perry, for example?
Yeah, no, it's very important. That's something we look into. How does a player fit in your system? It's a big part of it. It's to win, you have to have the right character, whatever you want. Character, culture, they're all the same things. And it's always, you mentioned Corey Perry. All these. The former Anaheim Ducks, nobody loved him. He's an unbelievable guy. You wouldn't meet a better guy. He was, tell some stories about these guys. We brought Corey Perry in, and we're all we got these sport performance things now and stuff. You got to eat right, you got to sleep right so many hours, you got to do this, da-da-da-da-da. Corey Perry and Matt Zuccarello come in. Matt Zuccarello comes in from the Rangers. And when we go on the road, we have a room for everybody, and that's where they eat and have their snacks and stuff. Well, we had our team meal, and there was no ice cream and no cookies. Well, Corey Perry and Matt Zuccarello said, "Where's the ice cream and cookies?" Well, our sports nutritionist says that's taboo, and they said, "No, it's not taboo. Get the ice cream in here and the stuff in here." And that's the year we went to the finals in the bubble. We had to have chocolate chip ice cream and or chocolate chip cookies and ice cream and pizza. And so the sports nutritionist was kind of pushed aside. These guys said, "We're going to have this, and too bad." So those are the type of things, little culture things that, it's easy to have a book and say, here's how you got to be and stuff. But it's not that simple. And a lot of people change. You talked about Tyler Seguin. Tyler Seguin had this. He was 18 years old. Boston drafted him. I'll give you guys a story. 18 years old. Boston drafted him. Put him on the team in Boston. Didn't give him any direct. He lived in downtown Boston. 18 years old, making $1 million a year, having a ball. Life's good. Nobody's giving him any direction and stuff. I was fortunate to know Tyler. He played for the Plymouth Whalers. That's when I was living in Detroit. So I knew him, got to know him as a kid. I knew he had no direction. And so we decided to make that decision, brought him in, gave him some direction. And you know what? These are things that make you proud. He's now married, and here he is. He's a completely changed person.
I remember being in Albernays one morning before a playoff game with my family, with my wife's family, and I see all the players streaming in for brunch and getting ready to eat. And I look at them, I said, watch how much they eat over the next hour and a half. You have to, you're burning 5,000 calories a game, so it almost doesn't matter what you eat at that point, right? Yeah. Well, I think we got time for just one more question, and yep.
Well, and I've been in the mountaintop. I've been in the valley a lot too. So just remember that. I've been in the valley. You appreciate the mountaintop when you've been on the valley. I still tell the story about, I remember playing junior hockey, playing in Medicine Hat. We'd have 12, 14-hour bus rides. We'd play that night, and we'd get our butts kicked. You know, we'd lose 10-2. If you won the game, they'd stop at the burger joint and get you a burger. If you lost, you weren't getting anything to eat. You get on that bus, and you're sitting on the bus. Your head's against the frozen window. It's cold, and you're driving along, and you're sitting there saying, I just want to go home and be with my buddies. But you know what? You get up the next day. You go to practice, and you try to figure it out. It's no different than what you go through as a young person. Some days it's great. Other days you're going on that Salesforce. You're probably getting a lot of no's. A lot of people are saying nope. And you've got a choice. Are you going to sit there and say, you know what, maybe I got to go find another occupation or another company or something? But I'm going to get back to, if you got the Lord behind you, He's going to help guide you. Ask Him for direction, and you're going to dig in. You're going to dig in, and you're going to keep going. I've got a young man that's here. We were just talking about him. He interviewed for the Dallas Stars. He wanted to get in hockey operations. He interviewed. He said he was the last interview of the day. He said, I want to get in hockey operations. And he said, you know, Ryan's comment was, just get in. Start selling. He got in sales and did a good job there. He's a good man. And ended up going up to Canada to work with the junior team to get some experience. Came back. We were looking for a video guy down in Austin, Texas for our farm team. We hired him. He's a good man. Did a great job down there. We needed a video guy up here. Good man. Let's bring him in. A year and a half ago, we had to create an analytics department. And I said, I guess I know who the guy that's going to lead this. And I hired him. And one day, he's probably going to be a general manager down the road. But he's on the right path. He's stuck with it. And he could have, when he interviewed for the job, he could have said, no, I just want to get in hockey operations. I don't want to do sales. He said, you know what? I just want to get in here. Let me get in here. Let me get to work. The rest is history. So it's, you know.
And I haven't seen him in 10 years until today. So it's good to see him again and all that success. Jim, thank you so much for today. This has been wonderful. Let's give him a round of hand.
Thank you, everybody.